Most people spend their best years waiting for the perfect day to begin, and that day never comes. They wait for the right income, the right mood, the right moment, as if time will one day knock on their door and say, "Now you're ready." It passes quietly while you prepare for perfection. The tragedy isn't that people run out of money, it's that they run out of chances. The right time is not on the calendar, it's in your decision. Wealth doesn't start with opportunity, it starts with a choice, and that choice must be made today. Every morning, the clock gives you a quiet warning. It's ticking, not waiting. Life is not patient with hesitation. Yet most people live as if time is a renewable resource, as if tomorrow will be kinder than today. The truth is, the right time never comes dressed as opportunity. It comes disguised as work, uncertainty, and courage. Wealth doesn't visit the hesitant. It rewards the decisive. So stop waiting for your stars to align. Start aligning your actions with your dreams. Let me tell you something that changed the course of my life forever. There is no perfect time. There never was, and there never will be. Most people spend their lives waiting for a moment that never comes. They wait for the economy to settle, for the kids to grow, for the debt to clear, for the stars to align, and while they wait, life quietly passes by. You see, the illusion of the right time is the most elegant trap life sets for us. It feels reasonable. It feels mature. I'll start when things calm down. But here's the truth. Life never calms down. It just changes shape. The seasons of life don't pause for us. They move with or without us. When I was a young man, I told my mentor I was waiting for the right opportunity, the right business, the right economy, the right partner. He smiled and said, "You don't wait for opportunity. You work on becoming the kind of person opportunity looks for." That one sentence shattered my excuses. I realized success doesn't visit those who wait. It visits those who prepare. The right time isn't found. It's created through movement, through action, through doing what you can with what you have. The truth is, the smallest action beats the grandest intention. You don't need all the answers before you start. You just need the courage to begin. The first step doesn't have to be big. It just has to be forward. When you start saving that first dollar, reading that first page, or setting up that first side hustle, you're declaring to life, "I'm ready." And life has a funny way of rewarding those who move. Doors that seemed locked begin to open. Resources you thought you lacked begin to appear. People begin to notice your direction, and opportunity starts knocking. But it only knocks on doors that are already moving. I've seen people paralyzed by perfection. They say, "When I get a little more money, I'll start investing," or "When I learn a little more, I'll take the risk." But what they don't realize is, learning is in the doing. Waiting for perfect conditions is like waiting for all the lights to turn green before you leave home. It'll never happen. The wealthy don't wait for the weather to change. They learn to sail in the storm. So here's what I tell people. Begin with what you have, where you are, and who you are. Open that savings account, read that wealth book, start that little venture you've been postponing. Track progress, not perfection, because progress compounds, hesitation evaporates. A year from now, you'll wish you had started today. The right time is not a date on the calendar, it's a decision in your heart. And once you make that decision, time will begin to work for you, not against you. The secret isn't in waiting for the right time, it's in realizing this is the right time. Start today. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a decade. They dream of massive results, but forget that every great fortune, every towering success began as a single humble step. The truth is, you don't need to start big. You need to start committed. The size of your beginning doesn't matter nearly as much as the size of your vision and the consistency of your action. A small seed, planted with care and watered with discipline, has the potential to grow into a forest. But if you never plant that seed because you're waiting for perfect soil or perfect weather, you'll never harvest anything at all. When I first started on my journey toward wealth, I didn't have much. I remember thinking if I could just make a little more money, I'd start saving. But then I realized it wasn't about the amount. If you can't manage $1, you won't manage 1,000. Wealth doesn't come to the big earners. It comes to the disciplined. So I started with just a few dollars. Not because it was much, but because it was a statement that I was taking responsibility for my future. That small act changed everything. See, most people want to build a skyscraper but don't want to lay bricks. They want the glory of success without the grind of consistency. But the wealthy understand that success is built brick by brick, day by day. It's the small, consistent actions that compound into something extraordinary. You don't save your way to millions in a month, but you build the discipline that makes millions inevitable over time. It's not magic, it's math multiplied by mindset. Let me give you an example. Suppose you save just $10 a week. Doesn't sound like much, right? But what if that $10 turns into $100, then $1,000, then $10,000? Because you stayed consistent. Every habit grows if it's nurtured. That's why I tell people, don't focus on how small your start is. Focus on how strong your commitment is. The man who saves $10 faithfully will one day be trusted with thousands. The key is to build habits that stick. Automate your savings, automate your investments, automate your discipline. Because when you automate your good habits, you eliminate the room for excuses. Track your small wins, not for vanity, but for momentum. Every little victory builds belief, and belief builds progress. You can't improve what you don't measure, and you can't measure what you never start. Celebrate that first saved dollar, that first book read, that first investment made. Those moments may look small, but they are the foundation of financial independence. Remember, the forest doesn't appear overnight. It grows one seed at a time. So don't despise small beginnings. Start small, but think massive. Because if you stay faithful to the small, life will eventually trust you with the massive. Fear is a strange thing. It grows in silence, feeds on hesitation, and multiplies every time you stand still. Most people spend their lives waiting for fear to disappear before they act, but that day never comes. The truth is, fear doesn't leave before the first step, it leaves because of it. The difference between the rich and the poor, the successful and the stuck, is not that one group feels no fear, it's that one acts in spite of it. Fear is not the enemy, inaction is. You don't conquer anxiety by thinking your way out of it, you conquer it by doing your way through it. I remember times when I was afraid to make decisions about money, opportunities, or even people. I'd sit there thinking, what if I make a mistake? But one day, I realized that indecision is itself a mistake, and it's the most expensive one of all. The longer you wait, the more you lose. The wealthy understand this. They don't wait until they're certain. They act, learn, and adjust. They let motion create clarity. When you move, the fog begins to lift. So many people say, I'm not ready yet. But let me tell you something, you'll never feel ready. Nobody feels ready to start investing, to launch a business, or to change their habits. You don't need readiness, you need momentum. Because action breeds clarity, clarity builds confidence, and confidence dissolves fear. It's a beautiful chain reaction, but it starts with a single step. Replace worry with work. The next time anxiety grips you, don't feed it with thought, feed it with movement. Write down 3 things you can do right now, no matter how small. Make the call, open the account, read the chapter, send the email. I've seen people spend years worrying about their future, while others spent those same years taking small, imperfect actions, and the results are night and day. Those who act, grow. Those who hesitate, rust. One tool that changed my life is what I call the 5-minute rule. Whenever you face something that feels overwhelming, don't think about finishing it, just start it for 5 minutes. Read for 5 minutes. Write for 5 minutes. Plan for 5 minutes. You'll be amazed how often those 5 minutes turn into 50. Because once you begin, momentum takes over, and momentum is more powerful than motivation. And here's the secret. Not every action has to be perfect. You'll make mistakes, that's guaranteed, but mistakes teach. Hesitation only steals. Review your actions weekly, not to judge yourself, but to learn. Every step forward gives you data, direction, and discipline. So if you're feeling anxious about money, success, or the future, act, do something. Anything. Because the moment you move, your fear starts to lose its power. Remember, anxiety thrives in idle hands. Action is the cure. Time is one of the few resources that treats everyone equally. Rich or poor, young or old, we all get 24 hours a day. Yet how we treat time determines how it treats us back. Most people make the mistake of thinking they'll start when they have more time. But here's the truth, no one ever finds time, they make it. The clock will never slow down for your comfort. It keeps moving whether you act or not. The earlier you plant, the longer your seed has to grow, and the greater your harvest will be. But most people keep their seed in their pocket, waiting for the perfect season, not realizing that time itself is the season. When I was young, I learned a powerful lesson. Time is either your greatest ally or your silent thief. If you use it well, it multiplies your efforts. If you waste it, it compounds your regret. Wealth doesn't just grow through effort, it grows through time. That's what compounding is all about. A small, consistent investment, given enough time, becomes something extraordinary. But you can't benefit from compounding if you never start. The cost of waiting isn't just the money you didn't invest, it's the wealth you'll never see. People often say, I'll invest when I earn more. But earning more doesn't change the habit. Starting does. Even if you can only invest a small amount each month, do it automatically. Set it and forget it. You'll be amazed at how those little, almost invisible amounts grow when time becomes your partner. Don't try to time the market. Instead, give your investments time in the market. That's where true wealth hides. Not in luck, but in longevity. One of the greatest mistakes people make is measuring progress too often. They look at their investments daily, panic at fluctuations, and start doubting the process. But the farmer doesn't dig up the seed every morning to see if it's growing. He waters it, nurtures it, and gives it time. You must do the same. Wealth, like a crop, grows in seasons, not seconds. Measure your growth annually, not daily. Review your progress, adjust your course, and trust the process. When I wrote my first 10-year vision, I didn't know exactly how it would happen, but I wrote it anyway. 10 years later, almost everything on that list had either come true or led me to something better. The act of writing a long-term vision changes how you use your short-term time. Suddenly, your days start serving your decades. You begin to trade entertainment for education, comfort for consistency, and wishes for work. So, stop saying, "I'll start when I have time." You already have time. It's just waiting for a master to use it. Remember, time is like a loyal friend. It will serve you faithfully if you give it direction, but it will leave you behind if you keep it waiting. Money is a mirror. It doesn't change you, it reveals you. If you give a person with poor habits more money, you don't solve their problems, you multiply them. That's why so many people who win the lottery end up broke again within a few years. The truth is simple. You don't need more money, you need better habits. Once you master the habits that create wealth, money will find its rightful place in your life as a tool, not a master. Early in my journey, I realized that money follows order. It flows where discipline lives. I used to think that if I just earned more, everything would change. But then I discovered it wasn't about earning more, it was about managing better. Before I could master wealth, I had to master myself. It wasn't about the paycheck, it was about the pattern. You see, wealth doesn't start in your bank account, it starts in your calendar, your notebook, your daily routine. That's why the first step isn't making more, it's mastering what you already have. Sit down once a week and give every dollar a purpose. That's what budgeting really means. You're the boss, and your dollars are your employees. If you don't assign them a job, they'll wander off and get lost. When I started doing that, I discovered how much money I was losing to carelessness. Little leaks that seemed harmless until I realized they were sinking my ship. Track your spending for just 30 days. It'll teach you more about your relationship with money than any book. You'll start to notice patterns, emotional spending, impulse buying, or buying for approval. The goal isn't guilt, it's awareness. Because awareness builds control, and control builds wealth. Once you know where your money goes, you can redirect it toward where it should grow. The next step is replacing impulses with intentions. Every time you feel that urge to spend on something that doesn't serve your goals, pause and ask, is this adding to my wealth or taking from it? It's not about deprivation, it's about direction. Each dollar can either become a soldier fighting for your future or a deserter escaping into someone else's pocket. You decide. And here's the secret. Money loves discipline. It respects the person who respects it. When you prove you can handle a little, life gives you more to manage. When you build the habits of saving, learning, and self-control, you create a foundation strong enough to hold any level of wealth. It's like building a house. The higher you want it to rise, the deeper your foundation must go. So, before you chase another income stream, master the habits that sustain it. Before you manage investments, learn to manage yourself. Because wealth doesn't start with money, it starts with mastery. And when you master your habits, you don't have to chase wealth anymore, it starts chasing you. There comes a point in every person's life when they must decide, am I going to keep consuming what others create, or will I finally create something of my own? Most people spend their whole lives funding someone else's vision, buying the latest phone, upgrading the car, filling their homes with things they rarely use. And at the end of it all, they wonder why the dream feels so far away. The truth is simple. Consumers stay broke because their money always leaves them. Creators build wealth because their money always returns multiplied. I remember when I first realized that every purchase I made was helping someone else get rich. Every coffee, every gadget, every impulse buy, I was investing, but not in myself. I was investing in someone else's system. That realization hit me hard. I decided that from that day on, I would spend more time and energy creating than consuming. Because here's what I learned. Creation builds freedom, while consumption builds dependency. You see, the wealthy are not wealthier because they work harder. They're wealthier because they own what others use. They build systems that serve people's needs, and those systems keep generating income long after the work is done. So, the question you need to ask yourself isn't, what can I buy, but what can I build? Maybe it's a product, a service, a skill, or even a digital idea. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. Start by turning your skills into something that can serve others. Maybe you're good at design, teaching, writing, or solving problems. Don't underestimate the value of what you already know. Package it, share it, sell it. Remember, the marketplace doesn't reward effort, it rewards value. When you create value, you no longer have to chase money. Money starts chasing you. And as you grow, begin directing your money toward creation, not consumption. Invest in assets that work, stocks, real estate, digital platforms, or even a small business. Buy tools that help you produce more value. Every time you buy something, ask, does this make me richer or poorer? That simple question can transform your financial life. Keep track of how much of your income goes into creating versus consuming. If most of your money is going out, you're funding someone else's empire. If it's going into building, learning, and investing, you're building your own. That's the real shift from consumer to creator, from spender to investor, from dreamer to doer. And let me tell you something, creation is where fulfillment lives. Because when you create, you don't just build wealth, you build confidence. You build independence. You build legacy. So stop waiting for something great to buy. Start building something great to sell. Don't just fund someone else's dream. Build one of your own. Because in the end, wealth doesn't come from what you consume, it comes from what you create. Motivation is like a spark. It feels powerful in the moment, but it fades fast if you don't feed it with discipline. You've probably had those mornings where you feel inspired to change everything, to start saving, to get organized, to finally invest, and then, by evening, the fire burns out. That's because motivation depends on emotion, and emotion is unreliable. The secret to wealth, to progress in any area, is not motivation, it's momentum. Once you build momentum, it carries you even on the days when you don't feel like moving. I remember when I first began working on my personal growth journey. I'd attend a seminar, get excited, take notes, make plans, and then within a few weeks, I'd be back to the same routine. I thought I had a motivation problem, but I didn't. I had a momentum problem. Once I understood that, I stopped relying on feelings and started relying on systems. I created a routine that didn't ask me for inspiration, it simply demanded execution. The wealthy live by systems, not moods. They automate success so that progress happens, whether they feel like it or not. You see, motivation needs energy, but momentum creates energy. When you take consistent action, no matter how small, that consistency becomes its own fuel. It's like pushing a heavy flywheel. At first, it takes effort, but once it's spinning, it almost takes care of itself. So, structure your environment to make success automatic. Automate your savings so you don't have to decide whether or not to save each month. Automate your investments so wealth grows quietly in the background. Automate bill payments so your focus stays on growth, not maintenance. Every decision you automate frees your mind for higher thinking, for creating, learning, and planning. Set one day each week to review your goals. Same day, same time. Consistency trains the mind to expect progress. And keep your progress visible. Maybe it's a financial tracker on your wall, a notebook, or a digital dashboard. something you can look at and say, I'm moving forward. Because progress is the greatest motivator of all. The more you see it, the more you want to continue it. When I started tracking my small wins, something incredible happened. Even the smallest accomplishments, saving an extra $100, finishing a book, completing a project, started building my confidence, and that confidence built momentum. That's how success really happens. Quietly, consistently, one disciplined act at a time. So stop chasing motivation. It's unreliable. Build momentum instead. Let your systems, your habits, your structure carry you when your feelings can't. Because when you live by discipline, not emotion, you never have to wait to feel inspired. You simply keep moving forward. And that's how ordinary people become unstoppable. When most people think about wealth, they think about comfort, a nicer house, a better car, a bit of financial breathing room. But the wealthy think differently. They think in terms of legacy, of who they're becoming, not just what they're earning. You see, the person you'll be 5 years from now is already waiting, silently observing the choices you make today. And if that person could speak, they'd probably ask you one question. Are you making decisions that honor my future or just satisfy your present? That's what I call legacy thinking. It's the mindset that sees beyond the moment. Because wealth, true wealth, isn't built by the person you are, it's built for the person you're becoming. Every dollar you spend, every habit you form, every relationship you invest in, it's either serving that future version of you or stealing from them. And most people don't realize they're borrowing from their future every time they choose convenience over discipline. When I was younger, I used to think of money in terms of survival. Make enough to get by, to pay bills, to enjoy a few comforts. But once I began thinking about the future version of myself, the man I wanted to become, the life I wanted to live, the impact I wanted to make, everything changed. Suddenly, every decision had weight. I wasn't just working for money, I was building a foundation for freedom. And that shift from present pleasure to future purpose changed my entire financial life. Try this exercise. Write a letter to your future self, 5 years, 10 years ahead. Describe in vivid detail how you want to live, how you want to feel, how you want your finances, relationships, and impact to look. Then read it often. That letter becomes your accountability partner, a reminder of who you're working for. Each day, make one small decision that your future self will thank you for. Maybe it's skipping that impulse purchase and investing instead. Maybe it's reading a book instead of scrolling your phone. Maybe it's having that conversation that builds a better relationship or a better opportunity. Because wealth is not built in giant leaps. It's built one wise choice at a time. And don't forget, wealth is more than numbers. It's time, freedom, and legacy. The purpose of building wealth is not to live comfortably. Comfort is temporary, but contribution, that lasts. The freedom to choose your time, to design your days, to help others, that's what wealth really buys. So, act today with your future self in mind. Don't make decisions your future will regret. Make ones they'll celebrate. Every wise choice is an investment in your legacy. And one day, when that future self arrives, they'll thank you, not for what you earned, but for what you built. Discipline has always been the bridge between what we want and what we actually achieve. Everyone wants wealth, freedom, and a better life. But wanting isn't enough. You don't get paid for wishing, you get paid for working, and more importantly, for working consistently. They rely on motivation, and motivation is like the weather. It changes daily. But discipline, real discipline, is the steady climate that allows everything else to grow. Now, here's the secret. Discipline doesn't have to be hard. You don't need to wake up every day and force yourself into good behavior. The key is to build systems so strong that discipline becomes automatic. The wealthy don't rely on willpower, they rely on design. They've structured their lives so that success is the default outcome. Their savings happen automatically. Their investments grow quietly. Their reviews are scheduled like clockwork. They've built systems that keep working even when emotions fluctuate. When I started my own financial journey, I wasn't naturally disciplined. I had good days and bad ones, just like anyone else. But I discovered something powerful. Automation is discipline's best friend. The moment I began automating my savings, I stopped debating whether I could afford to save. The moment I set calendar reminders for reviewing goals, I stopped relying on memory. When I automated investments, I no longer needed to feel ready. The system made sure I was. Think about it like this. If your paycheck comes in, and before you even touch it, a portion automatically moves into your investment account. That's discipline working in your favor without effort. You've turned intention into system. You've made progress inevitable. So, start small. Set up automatic transfers to your savings or brokerage accounts. Make it so that money moves before you ever see it. Schedule your financial review at the same time every month. Make it a ritual, and keep your commitments visible. Post your financial goals where you can see them every day, on your mirror, your desk, or your phone background. Visibility builds accountability, and accountability breeds consistency. Remember, wealth is not an event, it's a rhythm, and discipline is what keeps the beat. The rich don't get rich by doing extraordinary things occasionally. They get rich by doing simple things consistently. The poor make money decisions based on feelings. The wealthy make money decisions based on systems. So if you ever find yourself saying, "I'll start saving when I feel ready," or "I'll invest when I'm sure," stop. You'll never feel perfectly ready. But when you build systems that operate regardless of emotion, your wealth will grow even on your worst days. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. And once you automate that consistency, wealth becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. One of the greatest shifts in my life happened when I stopped treating my money like a paycheck and started treating it like a business. Most people run their lives emotionally. They spend when they're happy, they spend when they're stressed, and they spend when they're bored. But emotions make terrible accountants. Wealthy people, on the other hand, treat money strategically. They think like CEOs. They understand that every dollar is an employee, and if you don't give that dollar a job, it will find one on its own, usually working for someone else. The secret is to begin managing your finances with the same seriousness you'd manage a company. Imagine you were the CEO of You Incorporated. How would you make decisions? You'd start with a profit and loss statement. You'd look at what's coming in, what's going out, and what's left over. You'd cut unnecessary expenses and reinvest profits to grow the business. You'd plan for the future, track performance, and adjust strategies regularly. That's exactly what the wealthy do with their personal finances. When I first started applying this mindset, I began with a simple notebook. I wrote down my income on one side and my expenses on the other. I discovered that my business was bleeding money in areas that didn't create value: entertainment, convenience, ego purchases. Once I began trimming those expenses by just 10%, it didn't feel restrictive, it felt empowering, because for the first time I wasn't reacting to money, I was directing it. And that small discipline began to multiply. Treating your finances like a business means decisions must be made by numbers, not by moods. It asks, Will this investment produce a return? Apply that same logic to your personal spending. Before every purchase, ask yourself, does this expense grow me or slow me? If it doesn't produce income, education, or efficiency, it's probably a liability disguised as comfort. And just like any business, your personal finances need reinvestment. Don't let your profits die in your wallet. Reinvest them into assets, things that make more money, stocks, real estate, skills, or even your own business. If you earn extra income this month, don't rush to upgrade your lifestyle. Upgrade your portfolio. Because while lifestyle fades, assets compound. Every week, review your company's performance. Where did the money go? What's improving? What's leaking? A 5-minute review can save you years of regret. And remember, your goal is not just to make money, it's to manage it so well that it multiplies without you chasing it. So, start today. Open your financial dashboard like a CEO opens their business report. Look at your income, your expenses, your profits, and your reinvestments. If you run your money like a business, one day, your business will run without you. That's the day you step from managing finances to mastering freedom. When I first learned about the principle of compounding, I thought it was just a mathematical idea, a nice concept they teach you in school, but when I truly understood it, it changed my life. Because compounding isn't about math, it's about mindset. It's about faith in the process, patience with time, and the discipline to stay consistent when results are invisible. Most people underestimate what can happen in 10 years, but overestimate what can happen in 1. Think of compounding as your silent business partner. You don't see it working day to day, but it's there, quietly, steadily, turning small efforts into massive results. The wealthy don't rely on luck, they rely on time. They know that every dollar invested wisely today is a seed that, given enough seasons, becomes a forest. The trick isn't to predict which seed will grow the fastest, it's to keep planting, watering, and waiting. The power of compounding lies not in the size of the investment, but in the time it's given to grow. When I started, I didn't have much to invest, but I made a simple decision. Every month, no matter what, I'd invest something. Some months it was $50, other months $500, but the key was consistency. Over time, those small contributions began to snowball. The dividends I reinvested started earning their own dividends. My money was working even when I wasn't. That's when I realized compounding is like planting apple trees. At first, you have 1 or 2, but if you care for them, they begin to bear fruit, and those seeds can grow new trees. Eventually, you're not worried about fruit anymore, you have an orchard. But here's where most people fail. They interrupt the process. They plant a seed, dig it up 2 weeks later, and wonder why it hasn't grown. Every time you pull money out too early or sell in fear, you rob compounding of its magic. The market rewards patience, not panic. Don't treat investing like gambling. Treat it like gardening. The greatest returns come to those who can wait through the seasons. And remember, compounding doesn't just apply to money, it applies to knowledge, relationships, and habits. The books you read, the skills you practice, the kindness you show, all of these compound too. Every small act of discipline, every good decision, every reinvested lesson, they grow together quietly until one day people call you lucky. But it wasn't luck, it was compounding in disguise. So start small, but start now. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Give time the chance to do its work. Set up automatic investments, reinvest your gains, and stay calm in storms. Because while others chase shortcuts, your silent partner, compound interest, will be working tirelessly, day and night, turning patience into prosperity. When I look back over the years, One truth stands out more than any financial formula or investment theory. Wealth is built through people, not just products. I've seen individuals with brilliant business ideas fail because they tried to do it alone, and I've seen others with modest resources rise to incredible heights because they surrounded themselves with the right people. Money can open accounts, but people open doors. The greatest opportunities of my life didn't come from spreadsheets or stock tips. They came from conversations, connections, and relationships rooted in trust. You see, the poor often look for the next quick profit, while the wealthy look for the next great partnership. Because they understand something most don't, people compound faster than capital. When you invest in people of integrity, skill, and vision, the return is exponential. One good relationship can lead to 1,000 possibilities. One strong connection can shortcut years of struggle. The wrong crowd can drain your energy and dull your ambition, but the right circle can multiply your confidence and accelerate your progress. That's why you must choose carefully who you spend your time with. Proximity is power. Sit with dreamers, thinkers, and doers, and soon you'll be one of them. I remember early in my journey, I didn't have much to offer except enthusiasm, but I had one skill. I was willing to learn. I found mentors who were doing what I wanted to do and offered value first. Sometimes that meant volunteering at events, running errands, or just listening with full attention. What I discovered was profound. When you add value before asking for anything, you earn respect, and respect turns into opportunity. Every successful person you meet started by serving someone else's vision before building their own. So find people who challenge you, not flatter you. Seek out those who are ahead of you in wisdom, not just in wealth. Join investment or entrepreneurial groups, attend seminars, connect with those who share your hunger for growth. But remember, the goal is not to take, it's to contribute. Add value to every room you enter. Bring insight, bring energy, bring gratitude. Influence doesn't follow need, it follows contribution. When you make yourself valuable, you attract valuable people. And just as you look for mentors, become one yourself. Teach what you've learned, share what you've gained, and lift those who are just starting. Mentorship is one of the most profitable investments you can make, not only in others, but in your own growth. Every time you teach, you refine your understanding. Every time you help someone climb, you rise a little higher too. At the end of the day, your network is your net worth, not because of what people can give you, but because of who you become by walking beside them. So invest in people of vision and character. Nurture those relationships with care. And remember, the best returns in life don't come from the market. They come from meaningful connection. I learned early in life that true wealth isn't measured by what you keep, it's measured by what you give. You see, giving doesn't weaken your wealth, it strengthens your character. And character attracts more wealth. Most people think generosity is something you do after you've made it. They say, one day when I have more, I'll give more. But the truth is, giving is not about the size of your wallet. It's about the size of your heart. If you can't share when you have a little, you won't suddenly become generous when you have a lot. Giving is a mindset, not a milestone. When I first started making money, I thought the goal was to accumulate, to hold, to protect. But I discovered something fascinating when I started to give, not from fear, but from strength. Something in me expanded. The act of giving breaks scarcity's grip. It reminds you that money is a tool, not a master. It's not meant to be hoarded, it's meant to flow. Like water, when it's stagnant, it breeds decay. But when it circulates, it brings life, growth, and opportunity, not only to others, but also back to you. That's the paradox of generosity. The more you give, the more capable you become of receiving. But let me make this clear. Giving is not about charity for appearance's sake. It's about alignment with your values, support causes and people that reflect what you stand for. Maybe it's a scholarship for a student who reminds you of your younger self, or funding a local business trying to make a difference, or simply mentoring someone who needs guidance. Every act of giving plants a seed in the soil of your own destiny. And when you give intentionally, not out of guilt, but out of growth, that seed multiplies in ways you can't predict. Set a giving percentage. Even if it's just 2% to start, make generosity part of your financial plan, not an afterthought. The same way you automate your savings and investments, automate your giving. Because giving isn't something you fit in when convenient. It's something you commit to because it shapes who you become. Every time you give, you remind yourself that abundance is your natural state. And one more thing, don't just give money. Give time, give wisdom, mentor someone who's still where you once were. When you teach what you've learned, you reinforce your mastery. You'll find that as you help others climb, your own understanding deepens, and your sense of purpose grows richer than any paycheck. Generosity is the ultimate investment, one that pays dividends in fulfillment, reputation, and legacy. Wealth without giving is hollow, but wealth that flows outward creates a ripple of prosperity that comes full circle. So give not because you have to, but because you've learned that true abundance is not what you hold, it's what you're willing to release. When I first began my journey, I was looking for shortcuts, the secret to wealth, the magic formula. But I learned, often the hard way, that the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in real estate, gold, or the stock market. It's in your own mind. You can lose every dollar you've ever earned, but if you've invested in knowledge, you'll know exactly how to earn it back. That's the real power of wisdom. It compounds faster than money and can never be taken away from you. Most people chase returns without first understanding the rules of the game. They rush to invest capital before they've invested time in learning how money works. They'll buy stocks because a friend said it's hot, or start a business because it looks easy. But wealth doesn't reward impulsive behavior, it rewards understanding. The rich study the game before they play it. They know that $1 placed with wisdom outperforms 1,000 placed with ignorance. That's why the first and best investment must always be in education. Not formal, but financial education. I tell people, make reading and learning part of your wealth routine. Just like you pay bills, pay your mind. Read one financial or personal development book every month. Study the great investors, not just what they did, but how they thought. Observe their patience, their discipline, their long-term view. When you read about how others created wealth, you compress decades of learning into days of understanding. You begin to see patterns, the same principles applied again and again, in different times and different forms. That's how wisdom grows, through exposure, reflection, and application. But knowledge by itself isn't enough. It's potential power. You have to apply it. That's why I always tell people to run small experiments. Don't wait till you feel ready. Learn by doing. Start a small side business, buy your first stock, save your first $1,000, make your first mistake, because the mind learns more from doing than from dreaming. The moment you apply what you've learned, you transform information into experience, and that's what creates understanding. And if you can, find mentors, people who've walked the road you want to travel. You don't need to copy them, you need to learn from them. Observe how they handle setbacks, how they make decisions, how they balance emotion with logic. I used to sit quietly in the back of rooms, listening to men and women who'd achieved what I wanted. I didn't always understand everything they said, but I absorbed their confidence, their clarity, their conviction. That was education far richer than any classroom could give. Remember this, capital without knowledge is soon lost, but knowledge without capital can always create more. Your mind is your most valuable asset, and every hour you spend expanding it multiplies your future returns. So before you invest in a company, a market, or a property, make sure you've invested in yourself, because the mind, when fed properly, never stops paying dividends. When most people hear the word credit, they flinch, as if it's a trap waiting to swallow them whole. But credit, like money, is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's simply a tool. It can build empires or bury futures depending on who's holding it. The problem isn't credit itself, it's how we use it. Most people use credit to consume, to fill emotional gaps, to buy things they can't afford today in hopes of feeling better now. But that's not wealth, that's debt disguised as comfort. The wise use credit differently. They use it to create, to buy assets that generate income, to build businesses that multiply value, to open doors that cash alone couldn't unlock. You see, credit is leverage, and leverage is how the wealthy expand their reach. A poor mindset says, I'll borrow to spend. A rich mindset says, I'll borrow to build. When you use credit to acquire something that pays you back, like an investment property, equipment for your business, or even education that increases your earning power, that's good debt. It's debt with a return. And the moment your assets start paying the bills your income used to, you've turned credit from a burden into a bridge toward freedom. But to use credit well, you must earn its trust. That means discipline. It means paying every bill on time, every month, without exception. Not because the bank demands it, but because your financial reputation matters. Credit is built on trust, and trust compounds just like interest. I remember when I was young, my mentor said, if you can't manage your obligations, you're not ready for opportunities. That stuck with me. So I learned to treat every obligation, no matter how small, with respect. That respect eventually bought me access to better terms, to greater opportunities, to leverage that worked for me instead of against me. Keep your credit utilization low, under 30% if you can. It shows responsibility and gives you power when it's time to borrow for something meaningful. Because when opportunity comes, and it always does, the prepared can seize it while others only dream of it. Credit, when nurtured wisely, becomes part of that preparation. It gives you flexibility to act when others hesitate, to expand when others shrink, to invest when the timing is right. But never forget this, credit magnifies who you already are. If you're disciplined, it amplifies your strength. If you're careless, it exposes your weakness. Use it to buy time, not to waste it. Use it to acquire tools, not toys. Let it serve your goals, not your impulses. When credit becomes a servant to your strategy, it transforms from a chain into a key, one that unlocks the next level of your wealth journey. So don't fear credit, master it, respect it, and let it work for you, not own you. Let me tell you something I've learned after a lifetime of watching, studying, failing, and starting again. Wealth isn't built in the markets, or in the banks, or in the offices of Wall Street. It's built in the mind. It's built in the quiet moments when you make a decision that no one else can see, the decision to start, the decision to stay, the decision to grow. People wait their whole lives for the right time. They wait for better circumstances, for more money, for fewer problems. But life doesn't wait. The clock doesn't pause for anyone. I've seen people with great dreams die waiting for permission to begin. And I've seen others, ordinary, unsure, sometimes even afraid, who simply started. And those who start, no matter how small, are the ones who change everything. The truth is, success doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to work. The seed doesn't ask for better soil, it simply takes root in whatever ground it's given. You don't need perfect conditions to grow, you just need the courage to plant. Most people want the harvest without the planting, the reward without the risk, the comfort without the climb. But the world doesn't work that way. You must give before you receive. You must act before you achieve. And here's the miracle. Once you begin, everything starts to change. When you save that first dollar, when you make that first investment, when you start that small business idea, you send a message to the universe. I'm ready to take responsibility, and life responds to that message. Opportunities begin to appear. People begin to notice. Momentum begins to build. The act of starting is the spark that sets everything else in motion. I remember when I was young and broke, not just financially, but mentally. I thought wealth was for other people. I thought rich people were lucky, or maybe just born into it. Then one day, a mentor said something that shook me. He said, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. That was the moment I realized wealth isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by becoming a person who can handle it. If you grow yourself, your income will follow. And so, I began to work harder on myself than I did on my job. I read books, I listened to those who were ahead of me, and I practiced discipline, saving a little, learning a lot, spending wisely. It wasn't glamorous, but it was transformational. And over time, the small things compounded into big things. That's how wealth works. It rewards consistency, not intensity. The secret isn't to make a fortune overnight, but to never stop building over time. Now, as you sit here listening, I want you to remember something powerful. You already have enough to begin. You have time, though it's passing. You have knowledge, though it can grow. You have opportunities, though they may be hidden in effort and discomfort. Don't wait for more. Use what you have now. The first investment isn't in stocks or real estate. It's in your mindset. Because until you believe you can build wealth, you'll keep finding excuses not to. Let me remind you, money is simply a tool. It's a reflection of how well you manage time, discipline, and value. It's not about greed, it's about freedom. Freedom to choose how you live, where you go, who you help, and what you build. Freedom to wake up and say, I'm the designer of my life. But that freedom has a price, the price of responsibility. You must become the kind of person who can manage prosperity. If you waste small money, you'll waste big money. If you avoid learning now, you'll pay for ignorance later. I've met people who made millions and lost them all, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they never learned the habits that wealth requires. So start small, but start right. Track every dollar. Respect every cent. Build the discipline of control, because control is what turns income into independence. And let's talk about generosity. See, real wealth isn't measured by how much you keep, it's measured by how much you give. Giving doesn't diminish wealth, it multiplies it. When you give your time, your knowledge, your money, you open the flow of abundance. You become a source of value, and value always returns to its source. Don't just aim to be rich, aim to be valuable. Because the marketplace doesn't pay for need, it pays for value. If you want to be wealthy, don't chase money, chase contribution. The more problems you solve, the more money you'll make. The more people you help, the more opportunities will chase you. That's why the rich focus on impact, not income. They ask, how can I serve better? How can I reach more people? How can I create something that lasts? And the answers to those questions lead to wealth. Now, I want you to imagine your life 5 years from today. Imagine you started today. Saving, investing, learning, serving. What would your finances look like? What kind of person would you become? What kind of example would you set for your children, your family, your community? Because that's what wealth truly is. Not just money, but legacy. Legacy is wealth that outlives you, that keeps blessing others long after you're gone. You see, you don't need to change the whole world, just your world. And once you change yours, others will follow. You'll become a light for those still in the dark. And soon, your story of progress will inspire someone else to start. That's how transformation spreads, one person deciding, I won't wait any longer. I'll start now. So as we close, I'll ask you the same question I once asked myself. If not now, when? When will you take your future seriously? When will you stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect feeling? The truth is, you don't need any of that. You just need to begin. Take one step today. Open that account, start that business, make that plan, build a habit this week, track your progress this month, review your results this year. Let time become your partner, not your excuse. The years will pass anyway. Make sure they're building something for you, not just passing by you. And remember, wealth is not built in a moment, it's built by the moment. Every disciplined choice compounds into freedom. Every smart decision becomes part of your foundation. Every day you delay, the opportunity gets smaller. Every day you act, the opportunity grows. So, stop waiting. The right time is now. The right person is you. The right tools are already in your hands. Begin today, not for what you'll get, but for who you'll become in the process. Because the journey to wealth isn't about accumulating money, it's about developing mastery. Mastery over self, over time, and over life. Start today. Build wisely, live freely, and when you do, your life will not only prosper, it will inspire.